All right, we're live.
Hello, everyone. Buenas noches. Good evening. My name is Eduardo Torres. I'm coming to you live from the San Francisco Bay Area, actually in my community, West Pittsburgh, which is an unincorporated community in the East Bay, in my house, in my bedroom, like many of you who are locked down right now during this COVID-19 crisis. Thank you all for joining us. And just to give you some information, Right to the City Alliance is a national alliance of over 80 housing, racial, economic, and environmental justice organizations. And we're all joining forces with the whole cast of socially engaged artists via Artivist Entertainment to launch a 10-day online concert series. Welcome to the Cancel the Rent Festival. With the coronavirus, millions of people are unemployed right now and will become unemployed and will be unable to make rent and mortgage payments. And that's already started, right? We're in April 5th today, and we know that April 1st has already passed, and some people are already asking for help and relief, which is why we're under this Beyond Recovery Homes for All campaign. We're calling for all politicians, local, national, wherever, we're all politicians. We want y'all to cancel the rent now, cancel the mortgage payments now, and homes for all renters, homeowners, and small businesses, and people experiencing homelessness during the duration of this public health and economic upheaval. And lastly, we want to ensure a 3-month recovery period for everyone who is being affected of this COVID-19 crisis. If this speaks to you, will you not be able to make, if you're not able to make rent or mortgage payment either this past month or for May 1st, please fill out the survey. We have a survey in the description box below or in the chat box, and sign on to the list of demands that we have. We're demanding no debts with the immediate cancellation of all rents, mortgages, and utility payments. We also want Homes for All, which is a moratorium on evictions, foreclosures, and anti-homeless homeless ordinances. People must be able to stay in their homes. The household must be, the unhoused must be housed, and people need to be released from cages now. Vital public good and utilities should be restored to all homes now. Lastly, all people, regardless of status, must have access to sick time now, worker protections, and basic income for all right now. This is what we need, and these are a list of demands that you could find on our website. Collectively, each of you can pressure your local politicians and state politicians, federal politicians in your city and state to meet these demands with unified action. The first step is signing on to the demands in the description box below. The second step is sharing the hashtag Cancel Rent Festival on all social media platforms with the hashtags Cancel Rent, hashtag Cancel Mortgages, hashtag Homes for All. Cancel the Rent Festival will be broadcast live all through Tuesday. So please check out our website to find out when we'll be broadcasting next. To stay updated, please subscribe and like the Right to the City Alliance on all social media platforms. Without further ado, from Artivist Entertainment, Aloe Blacc.
Thank you, Eduardo. Appreciate it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cancel Rent Festival. Today, we are going to be speaking with some very, very powerful masters of the word. We have Sunni Patterson, who is a New Orleans poet, a singer, and activist. And we have Omar Offendum, a Syrian MC, poet, and activist. We are going to be speaking about of course, the crisis right now, and speaking about our personal experiences, but also sharing some of the work from Sunni and Omar that they are best known for, maybe some of the work that they are preparing right now. I leave it to them to decide what they will share. But just in the beginning, I'd like to say, hello, Sunni, how are you? Great. Say it again. We just unmuted you. Sorry about that.
Oh, I said I'm well and blessed by the best.
All right. I heard that. I'm good. I'm good. And I was speaking to you just before we started. You're in New Orleans right now. Yes.
Yes.
Hunkered down at home.
Raised and back home. Born, raised, and returned, as we would say.
That's beautiful. Wonderful. And Omar, where are you coming to us from today?
To you live from the other LA, Los
Right on.
I'm in my back patio, and my kids are inside making a lot of noise. So I thought this would be the best place to be.
Yeah.
Well, looks wonderful. So let's just get into some conversation and discussion. And Omar, for folks who are not very familiar with you or your work, just give us a brief, real quick, before we get into some of your work.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the beautiful work that you do, Aloe, and for taking on this initiative with everybody. This is a really important cause, and it hits home. I'll talk about that a bit more later. For folks who aren't familiar with me, I am a Syrian American rapper, poet, activist. I've been doing this work for the better part of the last 15 years. And I've got folks from all over the globe signing on right now. So salam, peace to everybody all over the globe. Thank you for listening and watching. And I hope you enjoy this conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. And Sunni, would you please, give us a little bit about where you developed your skill and where you perform the most?
Where I perform the most? Well, I'm right here in New Orleans now. I mean, we can't be nowhere else, right?
I know.
Can't be nowhere but home, wherever your home is. Yeah, I'm here, a poet and healer and magician in my spare time, a mama and a wife, and I tend to think I'm a pretty good person. And this work, I think my work, I kind of start there. How can I say? It's really about this aspect of remembrance, but remembrance in the sense of the true sense of remembering, like really putting ourselves back together, bringing our memories together, our spirits and minds and bodies, and what that means and what does that look like in a world where there's so much trying to pick us apart. So how do we move and remain whole in this space, and especially in a time like this, right? A time that is so new, but one that we've seen before, all at the same time. So yeah, it's a lot to do and a lot to undo, but I think that's the work of the artists, the work of the activists. Like who else but the artists will bring the kind of solutions that we need. Not just solutions, but solutions, right? Who else besides the artist will do this kind of ugly, nasty, beautiful, righteous kind of work, So I'm just grateful to be here and be a part of this conversation with the both of you.
Right. I would like to ask you, Sunni, what was the type of community that helped you nurture your art? Was it within the household, the family? Was it right outside of your front steps and that on the street that you lived on? Or was it a little bit further away?
Yeah, I think it was all of that. It was, I definitely came from the push the table to the side, let Sunni do her routine kind of family, right? I came from, little Magic gonna do her thing kind of family. I came from that kind of family, right? So it was, in the house, it was at church, it was, it's walking up the street in a place like New Orleans, it's music. It's music everywhere. It's music everywhere. It's a story everywhere. It's a sound everywhere. So I think anybody, you can't help but to be some kind of artist living in a place like this. And it's always a combination of spirit and movement and music and poetry. So yeah, in the house, at the church, on the street, places where I wasn't supposed to be. That helped to, that helped to foster a good bit of writing and everything, relationships I probably shouldn't have had, but that shaped me and helped mold me. So maybe I should have had them. I don't know. But, it's all of those things that play a big part in my work and in my writing. It's almost like I didn't have a choice, I guess. And even in saying that, even if I did have a choice, I would only choose what I'm already doing,
Right. So then you probably you wouldn't be able to say maybe that you had an epiphany moment because it was always your calling? It was always there.
I would say it was always there. It wasn't, but let me say, I spent a lot of time. I was a full-time teacher for a long time. And so I have to insert Katrina, right? With Hurricane Katrina. So I always say it took a whole hurricane to come through and move me out of the classroom. Which I love the classroom, but I did not love the being in for all of these hours in this space. And so, you know, it was just that kind of thing. You got in trouble for, you know, having field trips. I didn't think they were field trips. I felt like we were just going across the street and they like, you're off campus. You're not supposed to be. So, you know, places like, come on, you know, these children cutting classes anyway, you know, we may as well make it a thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's things like that that play a part. So I'm saying that to say that there are things that we know we want to do, dreams that we have, desires that we hold, right? But we're in these other spaces, and for whatever reason, right? And in my case, it was, well, who gonna teach? See, this is where the arrogant part comes in, right? Who gonna teach these children? Who gonna do it? Who, if I'm not doing it, who gonna do it, right? So thanks be to God, I grew up and realized that there are plenty of people who will do it. You know, there are plenty of people who will step up and step into their rightful role as teacher and mentor as well. Right? That's where I think some of the where I know the ego and fear that kind of came in, and that plays a part in so many of our days and so many of our lives, right? To that kind of stops us from doing the thing that we really want to do and the thing that even we really know we're supposed to do. But then it comes out because somebody else wouldn't classify that as a fear. They would say, oh, no, you love teaching. It's like, yeah, I absolutely love teaching, but there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. That my teaching is not supposed to be just relegated to this particular classroom, right? That there are things about me that are expanding and I want to expand even more, and it's got to be beyond these classroom walls. And then bam, hurricane. Right? Oh, okay. Like, so I always have to personalize it, like, oh, I wasn't moving fast enough. I wasn't moving fast enough on what I wanted. So a whole act of nature, you know, had to come through and kind of force us into this. I think about that even with this, what it is that we're going through now with the coronavirus. I'm almost like, you know, it's no coincidence that the platform, this major platform that we're using, right, is called Zoom. It's like it's bringing us forward to this space, you know, where our spiritual goals and destinies have to become real, you know, where we're given this time now to, and this is not to minimize, you know, or just diminish, you know, what is happening with the virus and just what it is that we're having to endure with that, right? But it is also to say on the flip side of this, like, wow, you know, I think about what Omar said, like, when's the last time truly he sat in his, you know, in his backyard to admire, you know, you know, heard him earlier, you know, like, oh, the lemon tree is blossoming. This is blossoming. That is blossoming, you know. So it's things like this that we take for granted, that sometimes these things happen to shift us, you know, to bring us to this space of awareness, to bring us to this space of consciousness. And that's why I always have to say, okay, well, is this thing truly, is it really about biology, or is it about consciousness? Is it really about, you know, again, the science of it, or are we back to this thing of awareness? Are we back to this thing of how do we bring, again, all of these parts of ourselves together, where we are now truly interacting with our families, where we are able to open up and expand our creativity in ways that we probably never thought we would have before. So at the same time, I also come from a family. I come from, you know, a system of belief that says that in all things, I must still give thanks. In all things, gratitude still paves the way. So I have to be able to tap into that kind of thought in order for me. I mean, I just want to be able to survive this kind of madness, right? When we're seeing the death toll that we're seeing as a result, when we're seeing the amount of people that are losing their jobs, when we're seeing the amount of people that could potentially, lose their housing and everything else. So at the same time, even in the midst of that, again, this is where we have to give thanks for the artists. Yet again, we have to give thanks for the ones that are holding the light, the ones that are holding up this aspect of light, that's able to say, listen, even in the midst of this, continue to give thanks, continue to give thanks. As hard as it is, continue to give thanks.
Absolutely. I want to ask you, do you have a piece that you'd like to share that maybe speaks to some of the things you just mentioned?
Yeah, let's do this. First, we always just to honor and give thanks for our ancestors, right? So let's say and when they read of this moment, they will see how we endured, and they will wonder how we made it, how we could live through such a time and still smile and create and celebrate, even though walls of panic and loss continue to build up around us. They will shake their heads in astonishment. They will question how we survive without hugs and second lines and community gatherings. They will drum up every conspiracy theory, and most of them will be correct. They will feel the anger of the era, the frustration of the season, and they will pick apart the science and discover to their surprise there was so much more hidden. This virus was a disguise. They will tremble at the revelation, and tears will come to their eyes, for they will see the essence of being in the living and of those who died. Or when they read of this time, this season of sickness and health, they will see the shift of humankind. They will smile at the way this generation confronted foundation and future, lack and love, how the people learned to come together in ways they never could before, how government officials learned to lead from the wisdom of their hearts and the bravery of their spirits. Oh, they will see that this time was not about biology at all, but it was a magic-making moment sent to raise the consciousness of humanity throughout the globe. Oh, when they read of this time, let them see that great ancestors, you are breath, that you are bridge, that you carry us over tumultuous time. You who can hear and answer with quick remedy, you are ready before we ask. You who can speak through tongues of trees and fire and water, this earth cannot hold you. We pound the ground and you appear, O ancient ones. You who can make lightning strike with the flick of a skirt. You who can make tornado turn with the spin and span of hips, take us there to the place of knowing, to the hall that leads to the doorway of you, O holy ones, you of the first light, you who know the potential of possibility pulsing in the dark, deliver us unto our gifts. You who have sunlight in your fingertips, touch our drums, make us hear the rising, make us move a steady stump, a choir of voices so majestic, heaven hides us in a tapestry of light, or we are stars. Blankets of wonder, sky bright eyes seeing the invisible, visible. You who have returned, you have turned our faces so that we see ourselves, and we have found you again in places we would have never imagined. You make our limits infinitely long. Our vision is clearer with eyes closed, and even there, you still stand in full color, vibrant and eager to serve.
Ashe. Thank you so much for sharing. And so relevant. It feels like this moment has inspired the words, at least that you introduced this piece with. Yeah,
absolutely. It because I'm just big on don't fall into fear. Don't fall into panic. Don't, so that's a thing. I mean, we're fed fear, we're fed panic, and we're fed so much that is just it just don't taste good.
Right.
Yeah.
There is a lot of fear and panic fed, and we have a lot of that media that is pushing that on us. Omar, I would like to ask you, from your experience and especially your familial lineage, where fear and panic isn't just media, it's palpable. It's outside the front door for your family members who are surviving in Syria. let us talk with you a little bit about that. You know, the differences between the fear and panic we feel here that is kind of pushed upon us versus the immediacy of that fear and panic in Syria.
Thank you for pointing that out. I mean, first of all, I just want to say, you know, my heart goes out to all the families who are struggling right now, dealing with the loss of loved ones because of this virus or sickness and ailments all around the country, all around the world. You know, this has really kind of been a common denominator for humanity in a way that when it comes to Syria, we had hoped, you know, the level of violence and the level of death and destruction and just all around despair would shake people, would wake people up. But even that, you know, even the largest refugee crisis this world has ever seen, still got people like Donald Trump elected, you know, by demonizing some of the most vulnerable human beings, you know, on the planet and shutting down our borders and shutting down or putting up walls, literally, figuratively, and just kind of essentially closing it off, you know, like horses with blinders on. So, you know, I want to say that I think.
Omar, would you mind speaking just a little louder?
Yeah, so I'm going to speak up a little bit louder. Forgive me. I just want to say, you know, on top of all of that, the Syrian people have gone through, there's also this huge looming fear of Corona hitting in a major way in a place like Syria, in a place like Iraq, in a place like Afghanistan, in the refugee camps all over Europe. And you know, in America, we're seeing it for the first time, this sort of like, to a degree, leveling of this playing field where everybody all of a sudden is having to wake up and wrestle with this in some way or another. I know it's not at all equal, and that's what this is all about. And I want to thank the organizers of this festival for making clear where our priorities are. But I just think that at the end of the day, I really appreciated what Sunni was saying about finding the things to be thankful for, finding the things to be grateful for. When it comes to me and my lineage, as you'd mentioned, my cultural heritage is one of deeply rooted sort of connections to ancestry, to poetry that has been the backbone of our language and our culture for so many millennia. And, you know, it's what has given me comfort immediately, whether it was the war in Syria, whether it was this situation that we're dealing with now. It's knowing that, you know, ancestors have paved the way for us lyrically, musically, culturally, to be able to know that we have the power to endure, and not just endure, but thrive, and give so many examples of art and artistry that have, like, you know, Sunni was saying, have shined a light on these issues in ways that touch people, that don't divide people, that don't point fingers and blame, that actually ask, what could I have done better? What could I be doing better? You know, and that's something that I've been trying to do myself. My family was hit pretty hard with this. We lost 5 months of income immediately, potentially more. So this cancel rent, cancel mortgage, you know, plea is real for me. At the same time, you know, I went inward and I said, you know, maybe there were aspects of my career that weren't necessarily sustainable. And I think Mother Earth is giving us signs right now. You know, she's asking us to really pay attention. The global connectivity that we have through the internet is a beautiful thing. But the idea that human beings could just do whatever we wanted to do, wherever we wanted to do it, and with complete disregard for all of these very obvious signs that we've been given, you know, and until we're actually faced with it through disease that affects us personally, not the animals that we're ignoring, not like the forest fires and not, you know, the floods, but finally something woke us up. It didn't have to get there. It didn't, you know, we had plenty of signs before, but something about human beings, you know, just makes us sort of like move on this path and not think about it. But there are people who have been thinking, as I said, the poets, the artists, the musicians, the activists, the scientists, you know, all of these folks who've been kind of trying to, you know, ring the alarm and just wake people up. So I digress. I just wanted to say once again, thank you. And my heart goes out to everybody who's dealing with this in one way or another. And I also wanted to add, I know there are people who are stuck at home in situations that are not ideal. You know, I'm fortunate enough to have a loving home, a wife, children that kind of keep my spirits up. There are people who are alone at home who are, you know, suffering from anxiety, from depression, people who are are trapped with abusers, people who are, you know, just dealing with all sorts of issues and ailments that make this particular situation that much more dire. So, you know, our hearts go out to them. I hope that if you are watching, you find some sense of relief and comfort in this, and in the music and the story and the song of whoever it is that brings you comfort in these times, to lean on them and to understand that, you know, we're all connected on this earth in a very deep way. And these are moments that we can start to understand those connections more profoundly. So.
Absolutely. Would you mind sharing with us a song or a piece that that you feel will speak to what you just discussed?
Absolutely. I think I'll start it off with a poem that I had written called Mother Earth. Some folks have seen me recite it in different ways over the years, but it seems especially poignant now. And it just speaks to the idea that when you write from sort of an honest and sincere place, it has the ability to kind of transcend that time and space that you've written it in and connect in different ways. So. Reflecting upon this heavenly reference, we ponder and question his many a blessings from husbands and wives to nations and tribes, striving to know one another's the lesson as tolerance beckons at every petty divide. 'Tis better to settle with egos aside, for what hangs in the balance is more than our pride. It is lions and rhinos and tigers and eagles too feeble to hide when solar flares can choke the air and roast the hairs of polar bears who've grown so rare are floating over there. It's hopeless. No one cares, but don't despair. The coast is clear for those who know how to cope and share with open hearts, not evil eyes. For Mother Earth, she will survive. We live and love with hope and pride. Mother Earth, she will survive. We push and shove, we poke and pride, but Mother Earth, she still survives. And even if mankind should die, this Mother Earth, she will survive. Our Mother Earth, she will survive. Our Mother Earth, she will survive, oblivious to all the borders men of ignorance create, fumbling over nation states that crumble when tectonic plates rumble, warning signs to keep us humble as we boldly procreate, segregate, then subjugate her from the deserts to the jungles, while presidents and kings keep building statues of their arrogance, and religious zealots argue over arbitrary narratives, reducing God to a facade to make you think that the imperative is how you dress or where you pray or maybe what names you've inherited. Look, such games are embarrassing, trivial to truth seekers who've been living their lives convivial, searching deep within for proof. Our teachers keep us in the loop, a generational gravitational orbit towards our precious youth, forever true. Prophetic reapers of the seeds we've sown, our health is our wealth. Poetic martyrs preach to each his own, as life's longing for itself is in the eyes of sons and daughters, grand and great. The hand of fate is not a palm read by a psychic or a psalm read by a saint. It is the labor and the action and the work of decent men. It is the seconds and the minutes and the hours people spend preparing for our next of kin. For mothers, this is second nature. It's the brothers who lose sight and start these wars that complicate her, boy. We push and shove, poke and pride, but Mother Earth, she still survives. We live in love with hope and pride that Mother Earth, she will survive. And even if mankind should die, this Mother Earth, she will survive. Our Mother Earth, she will survive. Our Mother Earth, she will survive.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. And as you were saying, you know, this crisis is not foreign. It is very, very real to you because you've lost income, and canceling rent is absolutely necessary. I've been, you know, speaking to folks about this, and the concept of a rent moratorium is part of the first step of relief, and postponing rent is what they've done here in LA as the first part of the relief. But it's not true relief, because it's just creating debt when you owe that money later on. And so the call is to cancel rent. So if you're watching, you know, make sure you go to cancelrent.us to learn more about how you can be part of the fight and the movement, and you know, sign the petition for your mayor or your city council members to be pushed and pressed to enact emergency legislation that will, you know, help to relieve this looming debt that you know, everybody's facing from homeowners who are having to pay a mortgage, to renters, to even the landlords, the bookmans of the world. You still, they still got to pay the mortgage on that building. So,
Yeah, even they're not getting a bailout. So,
no.
that's the reality of it. I mean, I did some quick math, and in my particular situation, I couldn't help but notice that the debt that I'm looking at, so far is equal to how much I had to pay in health insurance just last year. So it's like just thinking about how all of these things are connected, grateful that I was even able to pay it, but also knowing, man, it would have been nice to have that money now and live in a country where I worry about something like that. And when I talk to my friends in Canada, I talk to my friends in the UK, they can't even fathom
having to pay
the amount of money I have to shell out each year just to breathe. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, it's real. And I think it's all relative. I know it's all to scale. So different people are dealing with different things, but I've got young people at home too, who I think about, and I think about their future, and I think about the energy that we carry as parents and not wanting any of the burden and the stress that I feel to permeate and to enter them, as sensitive as they are and open as they are to my emotions or to my wife's emotions. So we've been doing the best that we can to really kind of, just keep it together and be hopeful and positive, as Sunni mentioned. And there's so much to be grateful for and be thankful for. And I also want to say, we have a dear friend who lost a grandmother in New York because of the virus. My brother and his family live in New York City, so we're feeling it in different ways, and just again, a lot to be thankful for and a lot to be pondering and reflecting on in these times.
Right. Yes, Sunni, you mentioned that you're a parent as well, and I'm sure you are doing the best that you can to shelter in place and provide some protection for your children. Tell us about that experience. How are you communicating with your family, the young ones, about what's happening, if at all?
So that's, it's something, because they're still, so I have a 1-year-old, 6-year-old, and 10-year-old. And so the 6 and 10, they are, even my 6-year-old, she just said earlier today, which I thought was something, because she's very affectionate. So she's always kissing and hugging on you and everything else. And then all of a sudden she said, well, Mama, can I still hug you? Right? Because I know the coronavirus and everything. So, things like this that seep in, where you want to make sure, right, that we're not growing into human beings who become used to not being touched, who become used to who shudder, when we are, finally able to be out and greet one another and things like this. So that's a big part. Where now there's even the great question of, Mama, is it okay yet? Is it okay for me to hug them? Is it okay? So it's something, right? And then my son, who's the 10-year-old, he's like he's a doctor himself, leave it to him. So, is if somebody sneezes, it's like, was that a sneeze or a cough? He's very serious about this. Was that a sneeze or a cough? If it's a sneeze, we can let that go. It's a symptom of a common cold. If not, then we might have to see about a drive-through testing area, So at some point, you've got to kind of, hit them upside the head and everything. But so, it's things like that we have to, be aware of and mindful of. But I make sure that they're outside every day, that they're in the yard, that they're playing and running and, getting a hose pipe on them and all kind of, stuff like
Still
this.
being kids.
Yeah, that's important, because it's too much that is there to pick us apart. It's too much that wants them to grow up too soon and too early. And it's important for them to run around. And we had some people, because people are so confused about this time too, to where it's like, no, you can't be outside at all. It's like, that would be mad to not be, outside at all. You still need some sunshine. You still need fresh air. Still, nothing is a match for the sun. Nothing is a match for, you know, in New Orleans, we're, you know, it's cool now, but cool for us is, you know, in the like 70 or 72. So, you know, like a couple days ago it was 89 and, you know, 90 degrees. So we're like, just get outside. Whatever it is that's on you, let the sun deal with it, right?
Right.
But yeah, so that's a major thing, because our children are so just, you know, like Omar said, they're sponges. And we can say all day that, no, they don't know what's going on, but that's so foolish for us to think that, when, you know, I always tell my children, like, man, I know y'all are just coming from heaven and everything, so maybe you're not used to a lot of rules, but it's rules. It's rules down you got to deal with, you know. So yeah, it's a lot. They're so open and so you know, they're still having conversations with people that we don't see. So I have to honor what it is that they feel. I have to honor what it is that they're thinking, and just honor their beings and let them be. Just let them be. Let them play. It's not like they're, you know, they're not going to, you know, they're not in the grocery stores and all these other places. But yeah, they're definitely outside and they kicking it. They making forts and all kinds of, you know, stuff, water balloons and everything else. So they doing it up.
Beautiful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you to share with us another, you know, another piece, if you'd like, something that maybe speaks to what you just talked about.
It's a couple things that
Anything you'd like
to mind. This is for those who work 25 hours a day for 24 cents an hour. It's for those who trod the street stress heavy, their feet strapped with anguish, backs bent with burden. It's for those who live between the lines of fear and confusion. It's for those whose eyes have witnessed the sunrise and they still question the awesome power of a supreme being. It's for those against the wall, or in the dust, or behind the bars, or on the other side of the barrel. It's for those who do not see God in the mirror, or a tree, or a blade of grass, a homeless man, a crescent moon, a drop of dew, a ray of sun, or a purple sky. It is for those who have given up on life and just wonder how they are still allowed to open their eyes real wide in the morning. And I say to you, it is not yet time to die. For seekers of a better way, for speakers of new words, for creators of another day, awake from your slumber, massive in number, as brave as thunder, as courageous as hope, as audacious as fate. I see heaven in your face. How does it feel just knowing that wherever you go, the holiest of holies is present in the form of you? So this is for you. It's for your worth. It's nothing less than divine. I'm saying this for all of those who survive, who get up, who scream, even when the takers try and zap their dreams, who shout no, who cry yes, who feel the glory of victory boiling in their chests. It's for the lovers of love, for thinkers of peace, for workers of justice, field hands of freedom, whose voices ring high when vibrations are low. It's for the tillers of the earth and the seeds they sow. Grow big, grow long, grow up and grow high. Rise and take your stance, because it is not yet time to die.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
That was a powerful piece. You said the takers zap their dreams. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Can we speak on that real quick? Just you know, the kind of experience or forethought that made you write a line like that. Who are the takers?
Yeah, it's again, I think it goes back to what we've been talking about. We look at, there's so much that's in the taking business.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And we perceive them, not we perceive them. Well, I guess I can't use that word, right? Because it's the takers, right, are very powerful. So we tend to give. They're so powerful that we just tend to give up the dream. We give up the vision. We give up the hope. We give up the faith. We give so much up, and sometimes so willingly. So it's really something for us to be able to look at life and like really say, no, but this thing is mine. There's something that's mine. There's something that I'm not willing to give up on. There's something I'm not, and that goes to, I guess what we were talking about, this aspect, not just right of enduring something, but to go back to that, right, Omar, like not enduring, but actually thriving, not surviving at this space, but actually being, right, like capital B, capital E, ing, like the ing. I call that the ing of a thing, right? Like it's like this ongoing aspect, like it doesn't stop. It's something that's is constantly moving and constantly going, and that's the thing about this aspect of dreams, right? But again, we live in a place that we see what they do to dreamers, right? King, we know what they did to King. We see what they do to people who have vision. We see, you know, we've seen these things. So to still move in that vein, to still say, I'm still willing to dream. I'm still daring to do it. I'm still moving forward. I'm still, and I'm still, so it takes some kind of bravery. It takes another kind of courage to be able to do that when you have all of these other examples, right, of what has happened to people who dream, what has happened to people who dare to push forward with a vision that just came to them, right? We see what happened to when we look at, you know, ancestors that did we look at the Nat Turners, you know, who said, listen, I had a dream that this happened, right? We see what happened to, you know, Queen Araminta. We see what happened to, you know, Harriet Tubman and everything that she had to endure, and people that we can, you know, name right now. So this aspect of, right, you know, so yeah, this is about, and it's, again, going even to bring this here when we're looking at this coronavirus and everything that this is about. And we look at, we were talking about this aspect of people like gig workers, people who, you know, this is how people make their living, right?
Yes.
We're talking about this aspect of I'm using that term as far as gig workers, but that's kind of basically what it is, right? This aspect, and anybody that's in this aspect of service, right? We see what's going on with whether it's our, specifically the artists, of course, who have to move with, you know, all right, we had all of these things booked from, you know, March on, and what does that look like now? Especially if you're very giving and don't get those deposits that you you understand, that's, you know, you don't get those deposits that you should get, you know. So yeah, it's a lot of things, but so that again plays a part in this dream making, right? But then I'm so big on this thing of imagination. I'm so big on the power of imagination. What does it mean to actually see something and feel something and then watch it build itself around you, right? So that's something sometimes that has to be taught, because there's some people who we're not moving in this realm of imagination anymore. But what I know for sure, that this thing of imagination and intuition, these are our greatest tools in times like these. These are our greatest weapons in times like these. It's like if we don't have them, then truly it's a slow death. So I have to bring that back again to this aspect of the artist. If it's not for the artist to call up this thing of imagination, this thing of making sure that we're tapping into this intuition, because here's the reality. When it comes down to intuition, it's like we all have it, right? But there are too many things that play a bigger part in, like, move it, get it out of here, get it out of here. You don't move with the heart. Don't go with the heart. Don't go with the heart. Don't go with that part. Don't go with the intuition. And then what happens? We're taught to, like they say, we're taught to question heaven, but we don't question hell. So when the hell comes up, right? It's like, damn, I knew it. I knew that was gonna happen, right? But when it's something that's so beautiful and so good, it's like, it's too good to be true.
Too good to be true.
It's not gonna stay that long. I don't know how long it's gonna stay, right? So this is for people truly who have the courage and the audacity, right? To really dream and to say, yeah. So this is a big thing. listen, I'm such an optimist. I'm one of these kind of, I'm this person that's I'm always going to find the line. I'm always going to find the light, and I'm always going to point it out. Always, always, always. Now, sometimes that can truly get on people's nerves. Truly. No, it truly can. But yeah, right. My mom and them named me that for a reason. Certainly they knew something that, long ago. Yeah, I was born on a sunny day. Then my daddy wanted another son. Now that was another part to this too. But yeah, so that's a big thing. I think this is a major time for people who call themselves light workers.
Yeah.
It's a major time, because it's when we're faced with that kind of, again, this kind of fear and this kind of panic and this kind of lack. This is when our tools should come up. We should pull the tool. The toolbox got to be we're the ones who don't have just a hammer. Right.
I see Omar with his toolbox.
Yeah, with this is what it's about. And this is where these other parts come in, right? If we have people who don't see what our brother Omar just held up as a toolbox, then it's like, I got to question if you need to be on this journey with us. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you don't see this as a toolbox, it's something it's something wrong with it. There's something wrong with you. We gotta work on this a little bit. But yeah, this is what this is about. That we're moving, even when the takers try and zap their dreams. We're still in this thing of life, and we're not giving up on it.
Y'all mind if I share something real quick?
Yeah, please.
So just, the subject of death, of fatherhood, of immigration, all of those things were what I poured into the song that I'd like to share with everybody. It's called Close My Eyes, and I offer it to anybody who's lost a loved one on this journey of life. The core message in it is this really important phrase we have in Muslim culture and Arab culture, where we say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So to the one we belong and to the one we all return. And it's meant to give folks a sense of comfort, in that most difficult moment of reckoning with mortality. And I found in my life, whenever we've lost a loved one, in this particular case, my father, who had passed when I was 12 years old, it was followed immediately with the birth of a baby, with my nephew. And so to hear the wailing of family members kind of mixing with the cries of a baby is something I'm very familiar with. And even in this crazy time right now, people are having babies, so it's important to stay optimistic. Can y'all hear my toolbox?
Yeah.
Okay. I close my eyes and I see you now. I close my eyes and I see you now. Yeah. I bet you thought that I forget. I'll admit I've often tried. Ever since the day you left, I've been feeling lost inside, waiting here with bated breath. Patiently, I recollect. 1 foot in the grave, foolish step to take. Now wait a sec, I heard about it all before. Read it in the ancient text, messages delivered from the best of us to save the rest of us from greed, stress, and a weak chest, speechless. 1 tongue, 2 eardrums, so speak less. And yes, the meek blessed with inheriting this earth. But until then, I worry for children who perish first, carrying thirst, walking miles for polluted water, buried in turf, lost smiles and a slew of martyrs. Is this the type of life we're meant to be living, where history's repeated, tragedies we're reliving, huh? These were the kinds of conversations that we used to have, but now that you're gone, I just speak to you in song, and I close my eyes. Yeah. I see you now. I can feel you near. I'm hoping that you hear. I close my eyes. And I see you now. Yeah. have a knack for showing up soon as I close my eyelids. The world is black, but sure enough, your luminance is shining. They say no man's an island, and to me, you were a continent, constantly reminding me to elevate my consciousness. Now back when I was growing up, you told me to keep smiling, that no matter what the obstacle, nothing was impossible. Timeless wisdom in your silence, a language all its own. Find a place your children's children love and go on and call it home, and plant roots and watch your family tree grow to bear fruits. Can't let that pride and ego set aside your ego. In the eyes of people, we share truth, clear through windows to your soul center. So find an equal whom you love being alone with to get you through this cold winter. The type of guidance you provided me was priceless. I can almost see you smiling while I write this at night. I close my eyes. Yeah. And I see you now. I can feel you near. I'm hoping that you're here. I close my eyes. I know. I know. Grieving isn't easy, but the tears breed patience. Believing isn't easy, but the fears feed faith in that infinite uncertainty of certain situations. Recognize you're immortal. Your demise is but a portal to surprises unpredicted by the limits of a mind. So finite that only in hindsight do we ever find what's right and what was wrong. And this is more than just a song. Sometimes your heart must skip a beat so you'll appreciate it more. And I keep calm and carry on. You want to knock on heaven's door? I'm not so sure, brother. The line is very long, and since its very dawn, mankind has never been benevolent enough to get along, at least not on a global scale. So please begin at home. I pray we're not a total fail, but indeed the good die young. Hey yo, deep inside I know we'll be united very soon. That's why I say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Yeah, like I said in the beginning, to the one we belong, and to the one we all return, for as sure as the sun will burn. You'll learn. Yes.
Yes.
I say, to the one we belong, and to the one we all return. Now I have seen a face with 1,000 countenances. Now I've seen a face that was but a single countenance as if held in a mold. I have seen a face whose sheen I could look through to the ugliness beneath, and a face whose sheen I had to lift to see how beautiful it was. I have seen an old face much lined with nothing, and a smooth face in which all things were graven. I know faces, because I look through the fabric my own eye weaves and behold the reality beneath. Gibran Khalil Gibran, rest in eternal peace. Thanks, y'all.
Wow.
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much, Omar.
That was
Really
beautiful.
appreciate that.
Yes.
I know that Omar, your time is limited. I want you to share with us any other pieces that you really feel compelled to share at this moment for this talk.
Well, thank you, first of all, and thank you again for the opportunity. Sunni, it's been really such an honor to listen to you.
Oh, same here.
I hope that we can connect in person in New Orleans.
Yes.
Much love to the Louisiana family.
Yeah.
LA to LA.
LA to LA.
Yo, I'm a big fan of like alliteration. So
Yeah.
LA. Lost and left alone. Little about lay Arabs leaves a lad amused, luxuries assumed, lavishly adorned, limited appearances, living amidst lands annexed, listening adherence led arbitrarily, laws authoritarian, losing always, loving Allah's library, agrarians levied against lethal armies, liberating Assyrians, lyrically at least amongst Levantines, Africans, legendary affluence, lashing at legalized apartheid, laughing at liars, acting like apes, lying about living arrangements, lounging at lakes, all linguistic ability lacking, a long-awaited land basting, alas, lackadaisical assassins, love acting, lame appropriations, loose associations, left asking, let art lead Adam Hey.
That's hard. That's hard. If anybody ever wanted to doubt your lyrical prowess.
Right.
I go a lot of back and forth between poetry and music and rapping, but rap is definitely sort of at the core of what I've always done and do. Much love to all the greats, the MCs who paved the way. One last thing I just wanted to share. I've got a new album coming out, shameless self-promotion, but this is something that I think, for the folks who do know of my work, I don't put out a lot of music, I live life. And then when it comes to me and I'm ready to put it out there, I put it out. So this record I'm really excited about. It's called Lost in Translation. It features a lot of old Arabic movie samples and a lot of fun, upbeat, happy music that my children love dancing to, which has been really fun for us, especially in this lockdown situation. So I look forward to releasing that in the coming week. Shout out to Thanks Joey, who's my dear friend and my producer buddy, fellow Syrian American here in Los Angeles. And on that note, I just wanted to share one last song with y'all, if it was okay. This one is, it's not from the new album. This is an oldie, but goodie. I just wanted to sort of like re-center it and ground us in the concept of home. There's a poet from Syria by the name of Nizar Qabbani, who was one of the most prolific poets of the Arabic-speaking world in the 20th century, huge influence on me and my work. And he was known for his love poetry and some really sharp political poetry as well. But for the people of Damascus, which is one of the longest continuously inhabited cities on planet Earth, he was known for his descriptions of life in the old city of Damascus, which was a really, really special place that I had the good fortune of getting to know quite intimately because of my mother and my sister living there. But also through the poetry of Nizar Qabbani. And so I took it upon myself to translate this one poem called the Damascene poem, Al-Qasida Dimashqiya, into a song. And it goes like this. I got a question. If I ask you what's Damascus like, can you tell me that it's like a glimpse into the afterlife? Said if I ask you, what's Damascus like? Say it's a glimpse into the afterlife. That's what I tell them when they ask me, what's Damascus like? I tell them that it's like a glimpse into the afterlife, a hellish heaven, heavenly hell, when relishing in poetic embellishments, memory fails. See, this is Damascus. And this is a glass of spirit comfort I love, but I'm aware of the fact that certain kinds of love can slaughter you in their wrath. I'm a Damascene being, dissect me into haves and have not. But grapes and apples fall in your path. Open my veins with scalpels, hear ancestral chants of heart. Transplants can cure some of the passionate. Why does mine stay torn in half? Then minarets crying tears of absence. Like trees that so speak, years have passed them. You can hear them asking for civil rights to live amongst tears of jasmine as house cats take naps relaxing. This is Damascus. Armando Mancinero over here is saying, it is the saddest thing in this whole wide world, and this is how I feel for you, only for you. So, if I ask you what's Damascus like, tell me that it's like a glimpse into the afterlife, right? So if they ask you, what's Damascus like? Say it's a glimpse into the afterlife. That's what I tell them when they ask me, what's Damascus like? I tell them that it's like a glimpse into the afterlife, a hellish heaven, heavenly hell, when relishing in poetic embellishments, memory fails, coffee grinders crackling, childhood reminders back on how could I forget when my reaction to cardamom's strong fragrance yet and still finds attraction. As proud fathers wait for a sweet daughter's face, I'm asking, my roots, heart, and language are here. How am I supposed to make myself any more clear? Is clarification necessary with love so dear? So much so, there was no fear. How many Damascene bracelets were sold for this poetry here? Apologizing to the willow, wondering if my little siblings can hear. My parts been scattered cross coast for years. Lanterns on horizons floating, saddened eyes had lost their hopes to see it. Once again, the saddest thing in this whole wide world. And this is how I feel for you, only for you. So, if they ask you what's Damascus like, tell them that it's like a glimpse into the afterlife, right? And if they ask you what's Damascus like, say it's a glimpse into the afterlife. That's what I tell them when they ask me, what's Damascus like? Well, it's like a glimpse into the afterlife, a hellish heaven, heavenly hell, when relishing in poetic embellishments, memory fails. See, we're tossed around the shoreless oceans only to be hunted down by devils and demonic ghosts. I battle garbage, rapid prose and rapid flows. It's apropos until no war is open to them. That's for show. Identity, your Arabness resembling a widow, though. Is there no festivus for the rest of his history books can show what will remain of poetry's originality? If so, many a brown nose and liar gets to have complete control. How we gonna ever write a verse to spit when killers still approach? I bore the burden of my words upon my back until I grieve what shall remain of poetry. When it is finally relieved, the saddest thing in this world, my lady, is knowing that we were meant to be from the very start, but that might never be. So I think you know what he's saying by now. And I hope you remember what I'm about to ask you. Yeah? Hey, if I ask you what's Damascus like, tell me that it's like a glimpse into the
Afterlife.
Right. So if they ask you what's Damascus like, say it's a glimpse into the afterlife. That's what I tell them when they ask me what's Damascus like. I tell them that it's like a glimpse into the
Afterlife.
heavenly hell, poetic embellishments, memory fails, and that's life.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Omar. That was
Yeah.
that was special.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been really lovely. And most importantly, thank you to the organizers of Cancel Rent, Cancel Mortgage, Homes for All.
Yeah.
I have to say, I've spent the better part of the last almost 10 years now fundraising for Syrian refugees and families all around the world. And something that always broke my heart was the fact that when I would fly or when I would drive to LAX, I would see so many tents and homeless people all around Los Angeles who are in just as much of a need as the folks that I'm raising funds for thousands of miles away. Just because we don't call them refugees per se doesn't mean that they're not. I started this career, doing this kind of work for other causes, Palestine, Egypt, Afghanistan, but also New Orleans. We had our own refugee crisis here in America.
Yeah.
And so, being able to connect these things is really important to me. Being able to sort of understand how we are all connected globally and through our own humanity is very important to me. And I just want to thank everyone who's been listening and watching and inspiring me to do what I do. So thank you.
Oh, we thank you too, Omar Offendum. We really appreciate you. Thank you for your time, brother.
My pleasure. Have a wonderful evening. Peace and love.
Peace.
Thank you. Oh man. So Sunni, do you consider yourself, are you a hip hop head, would you say?
I am. I love hip hop. I mean, I don't think I can help. That's something you just can't help, but
Right.
I love hip hop. Yeah. Hip hop.
Did you ever, when you were in a crew, like a hip hop crew, or
For sure. Oh, it was straight, old school. My name is Sunni. Cold as can be. I rock the mic so viciously. Yeah, back in the day. Them joints right there,
Yes. So we all have this affinity for and relationship with hip hop, and have matured with it and the word, and you have taken your talents in many different directions. Can you share with us a piece that you feel right now at this moment that is a statement you'd like to make?
Hip hop wise, that kind of.
No.
Okay, let's see. It's something. I wish this is what my son needs to be in here. My son is the good.
He makes the beat for you.
Oh yeah. He's on it. And then there's other tracks. Let's see.
It doesn't have to be necessarily hip hop, but I know where some of your inspiration, roots, and experiences is coming from.
Let's see. So this is how it goes. When your face is to the concrete, and it seems nowhere to go when the spirit meets defeat and all the talk is cheap. But them babies gotta eat, and that rent gotta get paid, head heavy. No sleeping on the week to week. We working day to day just to get paid, to get by. It still seems like the only thing left in the account is just the hope that the scope of the vision is wide enough just to make the mission clear enough, then had enough of coming up on the rough side of the mountain, bouncing back and forth, imbalanced and out again. What does one do when confusion comes for you? It's slow tread, high water. Now you're questioning, you're calling. But God don't work in bargains, only absolutes. Whew, ain't nothing like the truth. Just come through and show proof that everything created is connected. There's a oneness manifesting in the curse. There's still a blessing, and it may seem complex. Yeah, you probably correct, but we just on some next scientific, futuristic, mathematical XX. I swear. It's so beyond your 16 bars, a catchy chorus with metaphors and similes, please. Sometimes you need a word, a sound, a prayer to change the air, shift the atmosphere. Sit back and be still, reflect on how you feel. It sounds simple, but it's oh so real. It's real, it's real, it's real. It sounds simple, but it's oh so real. It's real, it's real, it's real. It sounds simple, but it's oh so. Come back into the center, reconstruct your mental picture, leave behind the things you've been through. Right now, right here, we moving in the positive light field, healed. All systems are a goal. Okay, like, is breath steady, ever ready, going higher? Deeper depth, stable steps, one with the power. I'm ascending on the path, so flying. Entering dimensions, turning water into wine, and trusting the process. Thought form, progress, levitated, elevated, activated consciousness. And it may seem complex, and yeah, you might just be correct, but we just on that next, have mercy. I swear. It goes so beyond your 16 bars, a catchy chorus with metaphors and similes, please. But sometimes you need a word, a sound, a prayer to change the air, shift the atmosphere. Sit back, be still, reflect on how you feel. It sounds simple, but it's oh so real. It's real, it's real, it's real. It sounds simple, but it's oh so real. Okay, that's making me think about, I'm thinking now about you. I'm thinking about my brother Omar. He held his shirt. So I want to say this for you all and others, but it says in all his majesty and might, his brilliance and his beauty, his black and his blue, boy still slips from their lips when they address him. He still lingers in the velvet of his dreams, the seen, unseen black boy fighting for manhood in a world that still sees through Jim Crow lens. Or to love him in his place, separate, away, torn, disconnected, passive, submissive, and shuffling. Now just turn that shuffling into dancing, because you know them love black boys dancing and singing and bawling. You know them love black boy strength, but don't love black boy, don't love black boy, don't love black boy. So now him drifting in the wind, searching for himself in places that never allow him to be himself. So now black boy is scared of his own shining black reflection, but we don't call you a sun for nothing. Black boy radiates sacred wonder. We see you shining star in the mirror of your own eyes and ours. Your manhood is manna, is sinew, it's potent, it's pure. Black boy, proud of the black man he has become. We see you, a pillar in the place of crumbling remains. Oh, black man, you reign, an effervescent dew that waits the world. We honor you and bear witness to your power.
Wow. Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes. Black power. Like what it said on his arrows for black power. You know, the power of the word in particular, just being able to manifest poetry is, as you were saying, it's, I think one of the ways you described yourself when we first started was as a magician. Were you were you using that to speak about your ability to make something out of nothing, make these
yeah, absolutely. Some people think that it's I can make quarters disappear and such like this, pull rabbits out of hats. While I did buy a deck of cards that allowed me to do these card tricks, it's definitely about how to, take a nothing or an unseen rather, and make it seen, make it heard, make it felt. So yeah, I like to think of myself as that kind of magician. And even when I was younger, right, that was things that I always wanted to be, like a magician. So my mom and them would always get like wands. stuff. I always wanted stuff like this, right? so I think that now that I've gotten, you know, older, it's still the same. I still want to wine, you know, it's still the same thing.
I feel you. The magical thing about poetry and music and voice is to be able to offer comfort and evoke emotion in someone. Have you been affected by your work in the same way that other people might have been affected? Have you been writing a piece that made you deeply emotional and on whatever side of the spectrum of emotion?
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. First and foremost, I write for myself first. I write, you know, yeah, that's always first. It's always me as other and other as self. So first it's always, what is it that I may need, right? And as a result, I know that I'm connected to you, to him, to her, and so forth, and you know, everywhere else. So yeah, first and foremost is
great.
It's those things that that's for me first, so that I'm able to. I think that's, even though I guess sometimes we can take liberties with that kind of the selfishness, I guess, that comes to say, I'm writing this only for you. It almost implies that I have it all together, and here I'm just depositing this. You know, let me deposit this in you, right? The reality is that no, when we're moving in this kind of community, when we move with this kind of oneness, again, it goes to that. I have to be able to find myself in you. In order for me to truly connect with you, I have to be able to truly see and find myself. In order for me to, to practice this kind of love that we
pieces that
the self piece. Let's see, they wanted her. They wanted her piecemealed, paper mached, practically broken, limp-like and loveless. They wanted her low. They wanted her high, flat and wide, filled with all of their empty. They wanted her to be more like them, not knowing her conception was immaculate, that she was birthed in sandalwood scented river water, sweet sapphire, honey touched tongue. Oh, she was too much of a mouthful for the greedy. Just a small amount of her was more than they could stand, or they wanted her bland and barren, unspirited, un-African, uncultured, under siege in the streets. They wanted her face down, ass up, hands cuffed and ankles strapped. They wanted her knowing she could never want them back, or they wanted her holy, baptized in her divine. They wanted her secrets, pearls to swine. They wanted to unravel the mystery of her design, fascinated by glory, hypnotized by her kind, though they wanted her complete. They wanted her whole, though they came fractioned, half-hearted, half-soul, with no regards and no knowledge as to who she really was. Oh, but if they knew her, praise songs would rain from the clouds of their eyes, clearing the vision, bathing the heart. They would bow every time they saw her, be their best selves when she was around. If they knew her, knew she was the glue to their revolution, the life flow of blood through their veins. If they knew her, she would know the wild woman. She would know that wild women, they walk with buffalo, that they have lightning on their tongues, fly whisks as weapons. Wild women, they walk with machetes, with wisdom, with grace, with ease. Wild women have hurricanes in their bellies, releasing a flood of a lesson. Oh, wild women, now they fly free. Just watch their ways, how they rip and shred. Or who can understand her? This winding Niger river of a woman, one who is unafraid to tear away, only to roam and then become the wind. She who speaks in gusts and cyclones, blasting us back to high ground, high consciousness. She turns and so does the world. Feel her spinning, spanning several lifetimes. Hear her speaking, sparking alarm. See her dancing, summoning the dead, resurrecting new life. Heaven hears her knocking on the door, safely transporting the ones who call for her assistance. While women, they open portals to new worlds, new speech, new dreams. Oh, dearly beloveds, so dearly departed from the ways of the guardian, beware, for wild women are not to be tamed, only admired. Just let her in and witness her. Set your days ablaze. All right.
That was really, really awesome. Thank you so much. Powerful piece. And you feel it felt, I felt like I was, you know, almost intruding, because as you told us that you write for yourself at first, then rather than making it a completely kind of objective, you know, third person, I associated all the words
Yeah.
with an idea that I have of you growing up and experiencing life, and then all the words together, then it almost felt like, oh, maybe I don't know you that well to know all this.
No, I think that's the beauty of, again, that's the beauty of what that we do, right? That's the transparency of it all. It's if we're not putting all of ourselves out, then what really is it? I think that's what art does. It unmasks.
It does unmask.
Yeah,
it's a great reflection. You mentioned before that there's the concept of selfishness as an artist, and I think and you unpack that, but it's more about the reflection. You have to it's not selfishness, it's selflessness, and you are reflecting everything from everyone else that's not able to put these words together and not able to synthesize these thoughts, but they're feeling it nonetheless. So thank you for the art that you do and the work that you do. We appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
And thank you for joining us to be part of this platform. Yes, go ahead.
No, it's the word that came up first to mind is a righteous act. Those are the two words that came up, because we know that, you know, the wonder of what it is that we do moves. It moves, and that's what this whole thing is about. When we're talking about canceling rent, we're talking about canceling mortgage, we're talking about canceling the debt, not like postponing it, but canceling it, like Xing it out, so that we are not able, so that we're not allowed, right, to move into this next phase of however this next phase will, with this kind of looming debt over our heads, like, oh man, now I got to figure out how to come up with, because rent ain't cheap, a mortgage ain't cheap, none of these things are cheap. And especially when we're talking about what does it mean, what does a living wage really mean, and we're talking about a true living wage, not something that is like according to someone else's standard for how someone should live, right? But what do all of those things mean when we're talking about brothers and sisters who are formerly incarcerated or incarcerated beings who have been locked up? I mean, just as I even think about it, there are 3 men personally that I know that pop up, and between the 3 of them, there was over 100 years that they spent in jail. That's just the 3 of them for crimes that they didn't commit. So we're talking about fair housing. We're talking about fair hiring when it comes to how they live, how they eat, how they work, all of these kind of things. So this plays a big part in what it is that we're doing. Our hotel workers, our chain food and restaurant workers, whatever it is, our poets, our artists, that we're able to move and have our being, that we're able to continue to produce work and produce art. You know, they say that, you know, unless you're hurting, you might not produce, you know, the best kind of art. But I'm here to say, get the myth out. We're here to dispel the myth. We're here to dispel, yeah, we're here to dispel the myth that we can still create beautiful art while we have, you know, some sustainability, while we have some money in our pockets and in our accounts and everything as well,
Yes,
right?
we can. Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Thank you, Sunny. We appreciate you. And we appreciate
Oh, thank you so much.
And some last words from us here at Artivist Entertainment and Right to the City. Beyond recovery, Homes for All demands to ensure healthy, stable, thriving communities and a future for us all with an easeful future free of debt, which includes canceled rent, canceled mortgages, canceled utility payments, and guarantee of safe, healthy homes for all people now.
Yes.
If you're not going to be able to make rent on the 1st, then fill out the survey to get connected with a national solution and sign on to the demands. In the meantime, keep dancing the hardships away with us every night. This week at 6 p.m. on Monday, we have Dorian Wood. And on Tuesday at 6 p.m., we'll be doing a charla, which is a discussion, a community forum on this relevant topic of the canceling rent and canceling the mortgages. Thank you so much for your time. And everyone, please stay safe, stay home, and stay hopeful.
Yes, that's good.
Peace.
All right, y'all, I'm ending the stream.